Hello and welcome to Fidelity Next live on LinkedIn. I'm your host, Emily Ananuevo. A co-op experience can offer many benefits, including real-life work experience, career connections, and valuable insight into an industry or field you're passionate about. At Fidelity Canada, hundreds of co-op students participate in our comprehensive program every year. It's an experience that provides students with the skills, tools, and knowledge needed to succeed in their future careers. Many students return for multiple co-op terms at Fidelity, and in fact, many of them are hired into the company once their co-op is completed. Today, you'll hear from co-op students currently in Fidelity's program, sharing their firsthand experience and offering advice on what to expect from a co-op placement. So please welcome our co-op students, Jessica Hungate and Sam Dupuis, to the show. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Thank you both for being here. I am actually super excited to be sitting down with both of you because you both have two different co-op experiences, which we'll dive deeper into later in the show. Like I said off the top, we have such a comprehensive program here, and it's going to be a great opportunity for you guys to give details about that program. So Sam, I'm going to start with you. I wanted to know, did you always know you wanted to do your co-op placement in the investment and financial landscape? And how did you first connect with Fidelity?
Yeah, so kind of going back, I thought I always wanted to get into the investment field, and I didn't really know, point of entry or how I was going to do that. So I kind of just set out on taking little steps to progressing towards what maybe a final goal in finance that I didn't even know where it was. So I started with, going to university, getting an undergrad, and still pursuing it in finance with a emphasis on investments. Mm-hmm. And from there, it's just kind of been about kind of padding the resume or building on some experiences that might lend me in the right direction. So it started with an internship in the field of auditing, and it was just a matter of kind of building my resume. So, because at the end of the day, I really wanted to get into investments. Okay. And I thought, Fidelity was a great place to enter.
And you should mention quickly to the audience, how many co-op terms have you done here at Fidelity so far?
Yeah, this is my fourth one. So definitely enjoying the experience, and I keep coming back. So
definitely seem like you're enjoying the experience. And we'll dive deeper into, the reasons why you felt like you wanted to come back. And you've been in many different departments, which is really neat to get your perspective on that. Now, Jessica, I know you well because you are actually doing your first co-op placement here at Fidelity, but specifically in corporate affairs and with our digital and video team. But what's really interesting is that your background is not really directly connected to that. Let the audience know what your background is at school and, how you connected with Fidelity.
Yeah, so it is kind of an interesting story. I'm doing my undergraduate degree actually in English literature and creative writing. So very, very different from finance. But how I heard about Fidelity was pretty straightforward. I found out about the opportunity on Concordia's job board. And to give you some context, I spent time last summer working in a marketing role. And so when I found out about the opportunity and looked through some of the responsibilities, I found that it paired quite nicely with some experiences that I'd already had. And so I applied and obviously went through the interview process, and I'm super happy to be here.
That's amazing. And I just love that story because, from the onset, a background in English literature, you don't think, okay, would be directly connected to the investment landscape. But like you said, you dabbled a bit in marketing and you found your place and a niche in the digital department here, which is awesome. I wanted to take it a few steps back and talk a little bit about the interview process that you guys go through here to get into the co-op program. Any tips there in terms of prepping for that co-op interview and doing well on it and acing it? Sam, what would you say?
Yeah, for sure. I would say just lean on having a variety of experiences. I mentioned when I first tried applying into the investment world, I maybe didn't have as much professional experience. So I went out and got it in other areas. And I wanted to be able to kind of lean on that in the interview process. But I also think a big thing is just being personable. I had this same conversation with my manager yesterday, and he's currently interviewing for students for the fall. And you just want to go in there, be personable, have a conversation, and don't treat it like an interview where it's just got to be back and forth. You can talk about more than just your experiences, and the more you can get the other person talking as well, it'll make you A, more comfortable, but B, just feel like it's a right fit, and you kind of get the opportunity to feel things out about the actual organization that you're applying to.
I love that. So be personable and make it more of a conversation than an interview. Jessica, what would you say?
Well, I would echo everything that Sam just said, but I would add, this may not be a super popular piece of advice, but I really think that the best thing you can do is practice by doing lots of interviews. I think as a student right now, whether you're looking for a co-op placement or you're looking for an internship, chances are you're going to be doing more than one interview. So I think really use that opportunity when you're in front of someone to observe how am I responding to questions about myself, reflecting on my experiences under pressure, and take those observations away, really do some reflecting on it. And, each interview is a chance to just get better and keep improving. So I would say strength in numbers for that one.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. And would you both say that, when you're entering a co-op program, you may not necessarily have all the work experience like you briefly mentioned, Sam. So sort of gathering your thoughts around your story, your brand, and like you said, making it personal, making it about yourself, because you may not have that direct, investment experience right away. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, speaking as someone who doesn't have necessarily investment experience, I think if you're someone who just generally is involved at school, right? So I'm on several committees. I do some writing for various journals. And so through all of that, I was able to gain more experience that, like Sam was saying, I could speak to in my interview. So, yeah.
Yeah. Just to build on that, like you're a student, you may not even have had even a job or that much experience. You're coming first or second year trying to apply for a summer job. You got to figure out what still sets you apart. I had a background playing a lot of sports, but I also did a lot of construction work. And things like that show the ability to work with a team. They show hard work. And things like that are still applicable no matter where you're working. So you just got to find a way to make it applicable and kind of tell the story of, okay, maybe I don't have the current knowledge that maybe I should or versus other candidates, but I'm still going to work very hard. And I have that aptitude to want to learn. And I think any manager is really going to resonate with that.
Excellent. All excellent points. So you've gone through the interview process. You've been placed with a certain department. What would you say, should be the mindset going into the first few days and the first few months of your co-op placement? Because I know you guys really hit the ground running, and it could be a bit overwhelming at first. What kind of mindset should you go in with, Sam?
Yeah. I would say there's two things you definitely have to do. The first would be meet everyone in your team, play the I'm new card, and just ask every question you can to learn about the organization, the dynamic within the team, and also just the people themselves, because at the end of the day, you're still going to be working with them. You are going to do the work itself, but you're also going to be friends and get along with them outside of work as well. So you want to make that connection. And the other thing I think that is imperative is that you do the little things right from day one. So oftentimes you'll have an outline of what your basic responsibilities are. And every time I get into a new job, the focus is how can I perfect those right off the hop, no matter how minor the task is or maybe simplistic. You want to get them right off the beginning. And then once you've built kind of that background, start taking on responsibilities that maybe previous students haven't done, or figure out areas that you can be contributing based on your personal skills. And at the end of the day, we often say this in the co-op group, like in 4 months, you're going to get replaced by another co-op student. So you really want to be personable and be memorable, but also take on jobs that, well, no other student did that. So that's why Jess was such a great student. Things like that.
Awesome, solid advice, especially because you've done multiple terms here at Fidelity Canada, Sam. So I know you've gained, a lot of learning and experience, which is awesome. Jessica, you entered the co-op program just recently. So what sort of mindset did you go in with, and how has it changed over the few months?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think building on what Sam was just saying, it is very important to want to show up, have a seat at the table, share your opinion, and ask a lot of questions. That's super important. But I think something also that people should remember is having a capacity to actively listen is super important as well. I can't tell you the amount of or the number of opportunities that I've encountered just by actively listening during department meetings, hearing what people are sharing in terms of projects that they're working on, maybe gaps that, like Sam was saying, nobody has filled yet. And especially summer is a great time because there's, people taking time off. Almost every team needs an extra pair of helping hands, and that's somewhere that you can step in if you're tuned in to where those opportunities are coming up. So I would say being a good listener is super important. Another thing I would say is just be open-minded, because, you may be asked to do something that, let's say, you're a little bit hesitant to do initially, but I think it's really important in those moments, be open to the possibility that completing this task could open up a new door for you, could introduce you to a contact that maybe you would have never encountered prior to doing that. So I think, emphasis on like the little things, being open to doing new things, and also just listening and keeping an eye out for those opportunities.
Amazing, amazing tips. I mean, like you said, be an active listener, ask questions like you said, Sam, and make an impression. I mean, you're here for 4 months, maybe longer. Really make it known that you want to be here and you want to learn. So I want to remind our audience that our LinkedIn, comment feed, comment section is open. So please just give us your feedback about the episode, what you think so far, and any ideas on future episodes. And of course, you can get in touch with Jessica and Sam on LinkedIn as well if you'd like to connect with them after the show. So Sam, I want to get into your current roles and your main responsibilities. Sam, it's kind of interesting because I know that your first co-op term you started in finance, and I believe you're in your fourth term in finance as well. So take us through your different terms and then what you're currently doing now.
Yeah, for sure. So the job of a finance department is usually taking into consideration the cost of the various areas of the business, and then what's the actual performance for those respective areas. We look at things like key performance indicators. And then if you're looking at decision support, specifically the role I'm currently in, it's all about just kind of a bird's eye view reporting of what's going on in the organization and the industry. And we're kind of providing insights to the key stakeholders within the organization. One of our primary contacts is the senior executive members. So we're basically just giving them the insights they need to be able to guide the company in a certain direction. So that takes many forms. We're looking at within our products, our performances through peers beaten, how are our products selling, and what is our overall assets, because that's how we get paid at the end of the day. And we take all that into consideration and see how that compares with the rest of the industry, and see what companies are both having successes and maybe not doing so well, and try and paint the story as to why that is. And if it's applicable to Fidelity, or it brings on the conversation of a new fund we could launch or something like that, then we want to be able to bring that to the attention of the senior executives.
Okay, a lot of detail there. It seems like you have really specific role and responsibilities. In your other co-op terms, Sam, I know you did something different in products and sales. How was that for you?
Yeah, exactly. So after that first term in finance, after having conversations with members of the sales team, I really thought that could be something I'd want to do. So I did have an internship with Advisor Sales last summer. Really enjoyed it. Definitely liked the people aspect. Got a lot of variety in the sense that we were planning events, but we were also providing updates on performance. We were talking about specific product recommendations, and I was able to kind of get an understanding of what the district vice presidents are saying and why they're saying it based on the industry. So after all that, I was like, I could probably, see myself in this sales path. So I thought, what could I do to, further myself once I actually become graduated and ready to take on full time? And naturally, that conversation led to joining the product department, where I was on the ETF team. We look at our product lineup, our performance, how are they selling, similar things that I mentioned earlier, but also keep an eye on key competitors, because part of the job with ETFs was product development as well. So we're always looking for the next products that we could launch, or keeping an eye on competitors and seeing what they're doing well.
That's an amazing, range of roles throughout your co-op terms, and we'll get into more detail after about it. Jess, I want to turn to you because many people may not know that we have a digital video department, a beautiful studio, lots of things running in production. So what do you do in your role, in your everyday role as a co-op student?
Yeah, so this list is expanding as I learn new things and get exposed to new things. But as it stands right now, I help out a lot with the webcasts. So some of them are available to investors, but mostly are for financial advisors and our institutional clients. And I also do a lot of work, of course, with you around doing some writing and writing copy for the podcast. And then I've switched a few shows, which was a nerve-wracking but very instructive experience. So happy to have done that. And then I also help out with some of the transcription process for our webcasts. But what I will say, so the media team is within the larger department, which is corporate affairs. And I have been lucky enough as well to collaborate with several managers within corporate affairs more broadly on projects that they're working on as well. So that's been a lot of fun.
That's amazing. So not only are you gaining experience in the production level, but also in the communications and writing level. Yeah. I have to ask, have you discovered something about yourself or discovered a new skill that you never thought that, you would be exposed to since starting your co-op term, Jess?
That's a really good question. So I think almost everything that I've encountered, at least in the studio, has been something I never thought that I would discover and has been totally new. But it's been fabulous to have a little bit more facility with some of the maybe more technical pieces of equipment, because going back to my background in English, and that's a lot of storytelling, I think this has really given me an inside look into, because so much of the content that we consume now is digital. Marketing is about how is that content being pushed out into what audience. What we're doing is actually creating that content. So it's a look at kind of both ends. So I think that's been amazing. The other thing that I'll just mention that has definitely been a takeaway from this experience is working under pressure. I think, when you're filming something for a live audience and something goes wrong, you have to discreetly but efficiently work to solve that problem. And doing that requires a very nuanced and detailed understanding of what is the equipment that I'm working with? How is it all connected? How is it working together? So just seeing our amazing team members in action has been awesome. So I think that's another takeaway.
That's amazing. A way to put it, working under pressure, but the way that you crafted that and said it so eloquently, that there are so many moving parts in production, and it's great that you're learning so much, and it's been great working with you. Sam, this is your fourth co-op term. I have to ask you, what makes you keep on coming back to Fidelity to continue your co-op placement, and has it been easy to transition from one department to the next?
Yeah, for sure. So as part of the Fidelity Co-op program, we get introduced to members of all across the organization. And that comes in the form of overviews of the various departments, comes through networking with managers, but also in conversations with other students. And I found after each placement, there was another department I found a new interest in or wanted to work with. So naturally, there was always a what's next, or maybe something else I could take on. And I found that they definitely are very intertwined. And because I had those conversations with managers, it was very easy to naturally transfer into another department with the next co-op term. And another thing that Fidelity does is they ask for student input, both on things they could do better with the program, but also what departments are you interested in? And they do their best to be able to pair you with a department that you're interested in based on when you're able to come back.
It's amazing. And besides your, day-to-day responsibilities in your current department, what else is involved in the co-op program? What kind of training do you guys receive, and any other, events outside of your day-to-day that you guys are involved with? Sam?
Yeah, I can say I've personally benefited from a lot of the communicating with confidence, presenting skills. They put on a lot of learning and development courses specifically for the students. And I found, still after 4 terms, I attend almost every one of them because you get a new extension to it every time, and maybe something that you overlooked before, you kind of are able to learn from and, kind of build on those previous skills. So those courses as well. Also working on a case competition with students as well. And I found, we have almost 70 students right now in this current term. It's definitely very fun to get to know each and every one of them. And that case comp is kind of an intimate experience where you're on the battleground, trying to figure out ideas and competing against other groups to be able to think through problems. And it's definitely been a great experience, learning lots about other members of the team, tooling that experience of presenting, and then also kind of getting exposure to what senior level is looking into, and maybe how they have a forward thinking lens, and maybe our ideas to provide a solution to that problem.
Absolutely. And how about for you, Jessica? Have the workshops and the case competitions really helped you build your co-op experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that makes the case comp such an effective exercise is the way it simulates, and I mean, with the resources that we're given, I think it simulates it pretty closely. Mm-hmm. The experience of working with different departments, different stakeholders across the firm to try and work towards a common goal and solve a problem. Yeah. So that has been really fun. Another thing I would just add is there's tons of fun things just happening with the company at large that you also can get involved in just by, being a student and doing your co-op. So for example, we have a scavenger hunt next week that I'm a part of. I'm really excited for. Actually, I'm doing my case competition presentation in the morning and then have the scavenger hunt in the afternoon.
Okay, that's a full day for you.
It's going to be a full day. It's going to be fun. And then I also just want to mention, I think like Sam was kind of alluding to, we have a really great group of students that I feel very fortunate to be a part of. And also we've just, I think, bonded so well, all of us.
Nice to hear.
So we even plan things outside of work. So whether that's dinner or a Jays game, we're always connecting and like hanging out. It's really fun.
So you're building a community outside the co-op experience.
Exactly.
It makes sense. You are all going through the same experience or similar experiences for 4 months or more. So it's nice to hear that you guys have gotten so close. We have a few minutes left and I wanted to squeeze in a few more questions. I wanted to get your perspective on working hybrid. I know, Sam, when you started your co-op terms, it was fully remote and at home, and things have changed obviously in the last, 10, 12 months. So how have you been able to balance your co-op experience with a hybrid schedule and compare to being fully remote?
Yeah, for sure. And I can speak to both sides of that, because one thing I would suggest to any student in a hybrid role is take advantage of the in-office part, get in the office as much as you can. Yeah. The natural conversations that you'll have or just ability to meet other members of the organization is unparalleled, and you can't match that when you're in a Zoom call. Their conversations are also very organic, and I've found that you're able to learn just from the people around you. There's, people on calls when you're around the strategists. When I was on the ETF team, you're hearing what they're talking about directly with advisors, directly with PMs. You get an understanding just about what's going on. And I've even found some of the people I talked to the most were not even on my team or even in my department. So those are interactions you can't really have when you're on Zoom. That being said, when I was online, the biggest thing you can do is just, hey, don't forget about me. Ping your other members of the team, say you have capacity, and just show that willingness to work, because if you're not in front of someone every single day, it's very difficult to get work and show that you still have an interest. And it's very easy for a student to maybe hide and not be a willing member. So be the one who does put themselves out there and still have that quality work, even if you never actually meet any of the members of the team.
Amazing practical advice and tips there. So just to wrap up, I want to know, Jessica and Sam, what's sort of the main highlight or takeaway would you say, you're getting from your co-op experience? Jess?
Ooh, that's, a good question. I would say probably for me, there's been so many amazing experiences that I've had. But I think one of the highlights for me is that it's given me a totally new perspective on kind of how to go about work and be an effective and efficient member of a large organization, because this is a huge company. So I think it's really equipped me with all the tools for just, exploring, because someone like myself, for instance, I'm not 100% clear on what it is that I want to do in the future, But through this summer, I feel so much better prepared to go and figure that out. So, like I was saying, starting conversations to get involved on different projects in different departments, or even with other managers within your department, is something that I've really enjoyed doing. But then also, like I was saying, learning about all of this totally new technical stuff has also been super fun. So yeah, a lot of highlights.
It's amazing. And for you, Sam, you've gone through 4 placements. Anything that's stood out to you?
Yeah, well, I would say similar to what Jess said. I don't still, even after 4 placements, don't know exactly what the career path has in store or where I want to go. But I have realized, just with the company culture of Fidelity and working here, that it's important to enjoy the work that you're doing, but also the people you're working with. And also where you're working does have a big consideration as well. So all those kind of things I'm starting to realize, especially outside of this virtual world that I was working in for the first couple placements.
Jessica, Sam, I want to thank you so much for being here with me today, talking about your experiences, sharing it with our students. We get so many questions about our co-op program, so it's really important that we sit down and we hear firsthand experiences from our students in the program. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And don't forget to reach out to Jessica and Sam on LinkedIn. They're happy to connect with you after the show and answer your questions. So for more information about Fidelity's co-op program and what it's like to work at Fidelity Canada, head to our careers page at careers.fidelity.ca, where you'll find more information on our company, community, and culture. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Fidelity Next.